Before we get into the video, could everyone please subscribe to my Endless Diary Tales channel? Thank you so much. Olivia, are you sure you've really made up your mind? The conditions on the battlefield are harsh, and you'll be facing life-threatening danger at any moment. I nodded firmly. Don't worry, Mr. Howard. I've thought it through very carefully. He sighed, adjusted his glasses, and pulled a document from his drawer to hand to me. This is the agreement for joining the International Medical Relief Team. Once you sign it, there's no going back. Someone will come pick you up in a month. I signed my name, walked out of Mr. Howard's office, and looked down at my slightly rounded belly. I felt a bit dazed. In my previous life, I married Ethan when I was 20. He was stationed far away in the army while I stayed home to take care of his parents and our daughter. Later, he brought home a young woman and said, "This is Grace. She saved my life. She's a benefactor to our entire family. Olivia, you need to treat her well." Grace was beautiful, gentle, and highly capable. Ethan helped her get a job as his secretary. They were together constantly. People who didn't know the truth all assumed they were a couple, praising them as a perfect match made in heaven. Ethan's parents were also completely taken in, grinning from ear to ear, absolutely delighted. One evening after dinner, I was washing dishes in the kitchen, and accidentally overheard Ethan's parents praising her as they held her hand. "If only Grace were our daughter-in-law. You and Ethan are such a talented and beautiful couple. It's just a shame you met too late." Grace gave a sweet and playful smile and looked proudly in my direction. Even our daughter became one of her loyal admirers, convinced that I couldn't compare to her in any way. She once broke down and yelled at me, "What era are we living in? Arranged marriage. You and Dad were never meant to be together. You're not good enough for him." She even muttered, "If only Auntie Grace were my mom." Later, Grace and I were kidnapped at the same time by one of Ethan's enemies. When Ethan came to rescue us, the kidnapper forced him to choose only one person to save. A gunshot rang out and my heart was hit. I collapsed in a pool of blood. In my final moments, the last thing I saw was Ethan throwing himself over Grace, shielding her without hesitation. My thoughts drifted back to the present. I placed both hands on my belly. I was 2 months pregnant. Since my child didn't want me as his mother, then in this life, I would grant his wish. I went to the hospital. When the doctor found out I wanted an abortion, he tried to persuade me otherwise. But after seeing how resolute I was, he had no choice but to let it go. In this life, I would never let anyone from the Carter family become a stumbling block in my rebirth. It wouldn't be long before Ethan brought Grace back again. I stayed in the hospital for 2 days before returning to the Carter household. Ethan's mother questioned me about where I had been. I avoided her gaze and said quietly, "I was interning at the hospital with my professor." She wasn't pleased. "You're already married. You should be staying home to serve us properly. Stop running off to the hospital all the time. What use is all that studying? You'll never become a real doctor. A woman's virtue is in being unaccomplished." But I clearly remembered that when it came to Grace, she never said such things. Just like in the past life, Ethan brought Grace home not long after. This time, I didn't wait at home like before. I went to the hospital. When I got back, it was just in time for dinner. It was New Year's Eve. In the past, I was always the one preparing everything. But this year, since they couldn't reach me, Ethan's mother cooked a table full of dishes herself. "So you finally decided to come back," she said with a displeased look. Seeing her expression, Ethan's father tried to ease the tension. "Come on, sit down and eat." I sat down beside Ethan, feeling no particular emotion inside. He pointed at Grace and introduced her. "This is Grace. She saved my life." I nodded, picked up my chopsticks, and got ready to eat. He continued, "Grace doesn't know anyone here yet, so for now, she'll be staying with us. You should treat her well." I picked up a piece of braised pork and placed it in my bowl, then looked up and met his eyes, but didn't get a chance to say anything. "There's no need for Olivia to be bothered," Grace said. "From now on, I'll be the one taking care of everyone. Don't you already know what I'm capable of?" Grace said sweetly, "I'll take good care of Uncle and Auntie. You can rest assured." She smiled at Ethan with a look of gentle confidence. Oh my, what a well-spoken girl, Ethan's mom said with delight. The more I look at you, the more I like you. Come on, have some more fish. I specially went out to buy it for you today. As she spoke, she picked up a piece of fish and tried to place it into Grace's bowl, but Ethan quickly reached out and stopped her. Grace doesn't eat cilantro. Ethan's mom looked down and noticed a bit of cilantro stuck to the fish. Oh, then you take this piece, she said, passing it to Ethan instead. I'll get another one for Grace. I watched them. How naturally they interacted like a real family. In that moment, I felt like the outsider, the one who didn't belong. Maybe Ethan noticed something. He picked out a shrimp from one of the dishes and placed it into my bowl. Olivia, you're hardly home during the new year. Thank you for taking care of the house and my parents this whole year, he said. I made this shrimp. Try it. I stared at the shrimp in my bowl, without touching it. Then I looked up at him, finding it all utterly laughable. Seeing that I didn't move, he paused and asked, What's wrong, Ethan? I'm allergic to shrimp. You didn't know that. His face froze. The silence was broken by Ethan's mom. Oh, don't be so dramatic. Allergic, not allergic. Back in the day, people didn't even have enough to eat. It's the new year. Don't go ruining everyone's mood. The way she spoke to me now was a complete contrast to how she had just treated Grace. The favoritism was painfully obvious. In my previous life, I had worked so hard and swallowed so much bitterness for Ethan, taking care of his sick mother for 5 years. What a fool I was. I threw down my chopsticks, stood up, and stared at them. I spoke each word slowly and clearly. Mom, since you're uneducated, let me explain. If you knowingly force someone with a food allergy to eat something, and it leads to anaphylactic shock, that's called attempted murder. Olivia, is that how you speak to your mother? Ethan's father, who had been playing invisible this whole time, finally exploded and shouted at me. Apologize to your mom. My mom, I said coldly. I don't have a mom. My mother died a long time ago. If I'm not mistaken, she died because of you. Ethan's father's expression faltered for a moment. Then he said nothing and sat back down. I didn't want to deal with them anymore. I turned to leave, but Ethan grabbed my wrist. Olivia, apologize. He was angry. I yanked my hand away forcefully and looked him straight in the eyes. What? Did you really start thinking I was your family's maid? It's been how long since the founding of the new country? You think your family was somehow excluded from the entire reform and opening up process? Their shocked faces turned toward me like a wave. I wasn't surprised. The old me had always been meek and obedient around them. Never once had I dared speak out like this. But I was just too angry now. Angry at myself for everything I had given. For everything that had never been worth it. Their stunned reactions didn't faze me. I ignored them completely and walked away from the table, returning to my room. Several hours passed. Then I heard a knock at the door. I got up and opened it. Ethan was standing there. He handed me a glass of warm milk. Olivia, I just heated this up. Drink a little. Okay, no need. You drink it. I moved to close the door, but he blocked it with his hand, looking at me helplessly. Don't be like this. You need to take care of your body for the baby. At the mention of the baby, I glanced down at my now flat belly and let out a bitter smile. Ethan Ashe, I said softly, using the name I used to call him. They're setting off fireworks outside. Why don't you come watch with me? Before he could answer, Grace suddenly popped out from behind him, her voice excited and playful. Ashe, fireworks. Come on, come out with me. Let's go set some off together, she said, grabbing his arm and pointing eagerly toward the sparkling sky. Ethan paused for a moment, then turned to her with a gentle smile and nodded. Okay, I'll take you. Grace got the answer she wanted. Beaming, she threw on her coat, ready to head out. Just as Ethan reached the door, he suddenly turned around and said, Olivia, do you want to come with us? Grace tugged on his sleeve with clear reluctance and mumbled. Ashe, maybe don't bring Olivia along. She's pregnant and there'll be fireworks outside. What if one explodes too close? That wouldn't be good for her. Ethan glanced at me with a bit of awkwardness, then nodded in agreement. You're right. I shook my head. You two go ahead and have fun. I saw a trace of guilt flicker across his face. Then get some rest at home, he said gently. Mom mentioned earlier that you're due for a prenatal checkup. I'll go with you tomorrow morning. Before I could respond, Grayson impatiently pulled him out the door. Prenatal checkup? Back in my room, I received a message from Mr. Howard. Olivia, I've submitted your name. In half a month, you'll be joining the medical relief team in Moritz. It's winter there right now, so make sure to prepare some warm clothes just in case. The next morning, I allowed myself the rare luxury of sleeping in until 10 a.m. When I opened the door, the house was empty. I grabbed a quick bite and got ready to head to the mall to buy myself a proper winter coat. After getting Mr. Howard's message yesterday, I'd gone through my closet and realized that in all these years, I'd barely bought myself any clothes. Back then, I felt sorry for Ethan having to work so hard. So almost all the money he gave me went to household expenses. I rarely spent anything on myself. Thinking about it now, I couldn't believe how stupid I had been. Around noon, I took a cab to the mall and headed straight to the women's section. Just as I walked through the entrance, I heard an excited voice. This dress is gorgeous. I looked over. It was Grace and Ethan. They were still wearing the same outfits from yesterday. Grace was holding up a fitted lace dress, pressing it against her body. Ash, would I look good in this? She asked sweetly. Ethan nodded. You'd look great. But isn't it too expensive? Grace asked bashfully. It's over $8,000. Ethan just smiled, pulled out a credit card from his pocket, and handed it to the sales associate. Please wrap it up. The saleswoman lit up with delight, taking the card while gushing. Your husband really treats you well. I watched the whole thing from the entrance, taking it all in. Suddenly it struck me. I couldn't remember a single thing Ethan had ever bought for me from the moment we met until now. It wasn't until he finished the purchase, turned around, and saw me standing there that the smile instantly froze on his face. Olivia, what are you doing here? For a moment, I felt like messing with him a little. I raised my wrist and looked at my watch. Didn't you say you were going to take me for my prenatal checkup? You didn't come home all night, so I figured I'd go out and look for you myself. His face turned pale in an instant, and he rushed to explain. Don't misunderstand. We stayed out late after setting off fireworks and didn't want to wake anyone by coming home so late, so we just spent the night out. Yeah, Olivia, don't overthink it. Grace chimed in. I glanced at the dress in her hands. Oh, the dress. Is that a gift from Ash? Grace giggled and nodded. It's a little something for starting my new job. Ash helped me get a position as his assistant. Olivia, you don't mind, do you? Of course, I could hear the provocation in her words. I smiled calmly. Of course not. You're his savior. It's only right. Ethan, hearing this, smiled at me with relief. I knew you'd understand. I looked at him, finding it all laughable. I'll drop Grace off first, then take you to the hospital, he added. We headed to the parking lot. Grace walked straight to the front passenger seat, opened the door, and slipped in like she'd done it 1,000 times before. Ethan started the engine and looked back when he noticed I hadn't gotten in yet. Get in, he called out to me. I glanced at the back seat, which was piled high with shopping bags. That's when it finally clicked for him. He quickly jumped out of the driver's seat, flustered, and began clearing space. Oh no, I forgot. Ash bought me so many things today. I told him I didn't need this much. He always thinks I'm missing something, this or that. Sometimes I just can't win with him. Grace said with a faux complaining tone that was clearly meant to show off. For a brief second, even I felt confused. Between the three of us, was I the unnecessary third wheel? After Ethan finished clearing the back seat, he stood in front of me looking a little awkward. Olivia, after your checkup, I can take you shopping too. It's the new year. You should buy yourself a few new things. I didn't know if he said that out of guilt or something else, but whatever it was, I didn't feel touched at all. I opened the car door and got in. Let's go home. On the way, Grace chattered nonstop in the front seat, occasionally bursting into laughter when Ethan joked with her. Then she would suddenly remember I was sitting in the back and awkwardly pull back her smile. The two of them talked about things only they had experienced, completely shutting me out. When we drove past the city amusement park, she said, Ash, Do you remember when we first met and I told you I'd never been to an amusement park before? You said you'd take me one day. Ethan kept his hands on the steering wheel but still turned slightly to her and nodded. Yeah, I'll take you when we have time. Ash, I also want to go hiking to see the sunrise over Golden Mountain. Sure, I'll go with you. Ash, I'm craving roast duck tonight. Okay, I'll buy it for you tonight. That was the moment I finally realized just how gentle and attentive Ethan could be. I had never seen this side of him before. Never even knew it existed. And to think I used to make excuses for how cold and distant he was to me. Now all I felt was a hard slap from reality. Every word between them mocked me as if I were the joke for still sitting here. Grace suddenly turned around from the front seat and looked at me with a falsely apologetic smile. Oh, Olivia, sorry. I forgot you were here. Ash and I just talk like this normally. Hope you don't mind. When we got back to the house, Ethan's parents were already home. As soon as she saw me, Ethan's mother began scolding. You're pregnant and still running around all day. I don't care what happens to you, but if anything happens to my precious grandchild, you'll be the one to blame. Ethan's father joined in. Come on, Olivia. Stop dreaming about being a doctor. You're not cut out for it. Just stay home, raise the baby, and take care of us. Stop chasing silly ideas. At the door, Ethan was changing his shoes and added, Yeah, Olivia, listen to Mom and Dad. Don't go to the hospital anymore. Women don't need to work. I looked at Grace standing behind him, then asked, Oh, then why did you help Grace get a job? He froze for a second. Grace is different. She's more independent. Besides, she's my assistant. She needs to be with me all the time. Then why don't I become your assistant? The moment those words left my mouth, everyone in the room went silent. Their expressions varied, but not one of them looked supportive. What? We're married? Wouldn't it make more sense for me to be your assistant and spend every day with you? Olivia, don't be ridiculous, Ethan said helplessly. Ridiculous? I'm the one being ridiculous now. Olivia, are you mad at me because of Ash? Grace suddenly began to cry. If you really hate me that much, I'll just leave. She bent down, grabbed her purse, and headed toward the door. Ethan and his mother rushed to stop her. Grace, don't go. Ash, I don't want to ruin your family because of me. I know Olivia hates me. I'll leave. Okay. Olivia didn't mean that, right? Ethan said, grabbing her arm and turning to me, clearly waiting for me to nod and agree. I smiled. No, I did mean it. Ethan, between Grace and me, this house can only have one of us. His hand froze. He looked at me in disbelief. What's wrong with you? You weren't like this before. I didn't want to waste another word on him. Ethan, let's get a divorce. Since you can't let Grace go, I'll return your freedom. Crash. Ethan's father slammed a teacup onto the floor. Ridiculous. Divorce? What nonsense. What do you expect the neighbors to think of me? You want him to divorce you? Where would he even go after leaving our family? He jabbed a finger toward me while clutching Grace's hand with the other, shouting as if he were going to explode. She's pregnant. No one will want her in the future. I glanced at him, finding his screeching voice and frantic expressions completely headache-inducing. Ethan, hearing his father, seemed to agree. Yeah, Olivia, where would you go if you left us? Don't say things you don't mean. You're still carrying our child. Don't let your emotions get the best of you. He reached out, trying to grab my hand, but I stepped back to put some distance between us. The child? You really think I'd just selflessly carry a child for the Carter family, then spend the rest of my life serving your selfish, self-centered clan? Even a slave would be better off than I was. The child? I already had an abortion. Don't even think about it. I pulled out the medical report from my bag and tossed it at them. Ethan's parents scrambled to pick it up. After reading it, their faces turned ghostly pale. Ethan's mother clutched her chest and screamed, Olivia, how dare you? How could you kill my grandson? How dare you? Because the child was in my body, I said calmly. Then I looked at Grace, who just moments ago had acted so fragile and weak. If you want a grandchild so badly, why don't you have Grace give you one? Olivia, stop it, Ethan snapped. There's nothing like that going on between Grace and me. Oh, that's right. I said with mock realization. I almost forgot. I think I overheard once that Miss Grace isn't able to have children. In my past life, I had accidentally seen her medical report. Grace's eyes widened in disbelief. How? How do you know that? Ethan's mother broke down, crying uncontrollably. Only now did Ethan and his father finally realize I hadn't been lying. They rushed to grab the report from the floor. Ethan opened his mouth, but it took him a while to say anything. You really went through with it? His father was so furious he collapsed onto the ground, slamming his cane against the floor over and over. What a cursed family. While they were all caught in the chaos, I pulled my suitcase out and headed toward the door. Ethan chased after me and blocked the exit. Olivia, please don't make a scene. Let's not talk about the abortion for now. I won't hold it against you. I almost laughed at how shameless he was. Ethan, have I been too polite to you all these years? Is that why you've become this disgusting? Right now, I, Olivia, am the one asking for a divorce. I'm not begging you for forgiveness. I pulled out the divorce agreement I had already prepared and threw it at him. I've signed my name. You sign yours. I don't want anything more to do with you or your family. For the first time, it seemed like he finally understood that I was serious. He tried to stop me again, but I shoved him back with all my strength. What's wrong with you, Ethan? You married me because my mother saved your father's life, didn't you? You never loved me. So what's with the act now? Besides, if we divorce, you and Grace can finally be together openly. What's the problem? Olivia, you've got it all wrong, he cried. I'm only kind to Grace because she once saved my life. She has no family in this world, and I feel a responsibility to look after her. That's all it is. Grace had just stepped outside and happened to hear that last part. Her face slowly turned pale. Ethan turned and froze when he saw her there. I stared at him coldly. If you're the kind of man who eats from one bowl while staring at the next, then I can't even pretend to respect you. I waved the divorce agreement at him. If you don't sign, I'll file a lawsuit. One way or another, this marriage is ending. Taking advantage of the chaos, I hurried down the steps, flagged a taxi, and left without looking back. I booked myself into a hotel. There was less than half a month left before I'd be gone for good. For the next 2 weeks, I finally escaped the Carter family and could finally breathe again, do what I wanted for once. I made a decision to make up for all the things I had lost. So, I found an island and planned a solo trip. Once everything was ready, I dragged my suitcase to the airport. Before boarding the plane, I made one last move. I blocked every single member of the Carter family from my phone. I wasn't about to let them ruin a perfectly good vacation. I spent over a week enjoying myself on the island, completely carefree. It wasn't until I got a call from Mr. Howard that I realized I had only 2 days left before leaving to join the relief team. He had already booked my flight back to the city and told me to come find him at the hospital. After returning to the hotel and dropping off my bags, I rushed straight to the hospital. But just as I reached the entrance, a hand grabbed my arm. I turned around and there he was. Ethan. When he saw me, his eyes lit up in surprise. Olivia, it really is you. You have no idea how long I've been trying to find you. You blocked me. I couldn't contact you at all. As he spoke, he looked down and let out a bitter laugh. I didn't realize until then that I had no other way to reach you. I don't even know if you have any close friends. Looking back, I guess I really didn't care enough about you. I didn't have time for this. I didn't come here to be delayed by him. I shook off his hand. Ethan, did you forget I already gave you the divorce papers? Stop pretending you still care. You know better than anyone how you've treated me. I turned to leave, but he caught up. Olivia, please give me one more chance. Mom's in the hospital now. I've been taking care of her these past few days, and I finally understand how hard it was for you before. How exhausting it must have been to care for her all by yourself. Then rush home every afternoon to cook for Dad. I finally see how much effort it took for you to keep this household running so smoothly. The more he spoke, the clearer it became to me. He looked thinner, more worn out than before. Without me, his free life and maid, he'd had to shoulder all the responsibility himself. And clearly he wasn't coping well. Everything he said was basically a confession that if I didn't return, he was going to collapse under the weight of it all. I looked at him and said, So, things are that hard for you? What about your precious Grace? She's not helping out at all. His expression turned cold instantly. Grace. She hasn't been feeling well lately. I nodded. Of course, smart girl. If I just pretended to be sick back then, maybe I wouldn't have been used by your family as free labor for all those years. He was momentarily speechless, clearly choked by my words. But I know you, he said. You came back today, didn't you? That means you still care. You still don't want to see me suffer. Olivia, I know you asked for the divorce because you were angry. I've had time to reflect. I'll change. I'll take better care of you. Let's start over. Okay. Come home with me. I'd had enough. I couldn't take it anymore. Ethan, get lost, I snapped. Stop flattering yourself. I feel nothing but disgust whenever I see anyone from your family. If you want to keep even a shred of dignity, then stop blocking my way. I'm not here for you, and I'm certainly not here for the Carter family. The world doesn't revolve around you. If your parents are sick or dying, that's your problem. If you have a conscience, take care of them. If you don't, throw them out into the street, but leave me the hell alone. He stood there frozen, clearly stunned by my words. It was like he didn't even recognize me. You came to the hospital for what? He finally asked, then suddenly seemed to have a realization. His face relaxed slightly. Oh, I get it. You're still dreaming of becoming a doctor. Olivia, be realistic. Just hanging around the hospital doesn't make you one. Then suddenly, a commanding voice came from behind me. Olivia, why haven't you come in yet? We still need to confirm your documents before you join the relief team. I turned around to see Mr. Howard and his assistant standing behind me. I nodded quickly. Sorry, I'm coming now. Then Mr. Howard turned and gave Ethan a sharp look. Stay away from her. Stop bothering her. Relief team? What relief team? Ethan asked, confused. What's it to you? I rolled my eyes and jogged over to catch up with Mr. After reviewing the final paperwork, Mr. Howard handed me my credentials for the medical relief mission and said solemnly, Olivia, on behalf of the International Medical Relief Team, I welcome you. The next morning, the young man knocked on my hotel room door. Dr. Shen, he said with a respectful smile. I'm here to escort you. I boarded the plane with him, and from that moment on began a 3-year journey of medical relief work in a war-torn region of the Middle East. During those years, I witnessed countless lives lost and just as many miraculous recoveries. Every time I successfully helped save a patient, I felt grateful for the second chance life had given me and even more thankful that I hadn't wasted it on people or things that never deserved it. 3 years later, I received a call from Mr. Howard. He said there was now an opportunity to study in Germany, but it would take 4 years. Would you be willing to go? He asked. I looked back at the rubble and the wounded behind me. My medical skills still weren't where I wanted them to be. Germany had one of the most advanced medical systems in the world. If I could study there, I knew I'd grow even more. I nodded. Yes, I want to go. Just as we were about to hang up, Mr. Howard suddenly paused. I asked curiously, Is there something else, Mr. Howard? There's something I've never told you, he said. The day after you left, your ex-husband came to see me. He kept asking where you went. I told him. He looked devastated, kept saying it wasn't possible, that you couldn't have left him. He made a scene in my office, broke a bunch of things. In the end, it was that woman, Grace, who dragged him out. At first, I actually thought he was genuinely heartbroken over your leaving. But not even a few months later, he and that woman were openly in a relationship. I figured it wasn't worth upsetting you over, so I never brought it up. But then just a few days ago, I heard something huge. His voice turned suddenly gossipy. That Grace woman, she was arrested. And Ethan, he was suspended from duty and has been taken in for investigation. I was stunned. Mr. Howard continued slowly. Turns out Grace was a traitor to the country. She approached Ethan from the beginning with an agenda. The whole Carter family was completely duped by her. Now Ethan's not just out of a job. He might be facing more serious charges down the line. Good thing you divorced that fool when you did. I thought back to my past life. As far as I could remember, none of this ever happened before I died. Did Grace actually succeed in that life? I shuddered. Thankfully, this time the truth came out. And as for Ethan, well, he had it coming. After finishing up my duties, I flew to Germany to begin my new chapter as a student. For years past, not long, but not short either. I spent every day with purpose and truly learned a lot. At graduation, I received a special award from the university. They told me I had become an outstanding doctor. In the blink of an eye, it had already been 7 years since I left. Mr. Howard invited me to return home. He was getting older and said to me, "Olivia, you're my best student. If I hand over the hospital to you, I can rest easy." On my first day stepping into my new role, after the meeting, my assistant was walking me back to my office. As we passed by the inpatient wing, a familiar and shocked voice suddenly called out, "Olivia Shen." I turned and locked eyes with a man whose expression was full of disbelief. "It's really you," he said, clearly emotional, trying to rush toward me. "Where have you been all these years? Why didn't you contact us? We looked everywhere for you." My assistant stepped forward to block him. "Sir, please calm down." But he angrily shoved my assistant's hand aside and shouted, "She's my daughter-in-law. This is none of your business." Just then, a man in a security uniform ran up and restrained him. "Mom, you just had surgery. You can't get this worked up." Our eyes met. I recognized him instantly. He looked thinner, more worn, definitely changed after 7 years, but it was him, Ethan. He recognized me too. His face tensed, and he quickly lowered his head and turned away. Ethan's mother, however, was still calling out, "Good daughter-in-law." My assistant stepped forward and firmly interrupted her. "Ma'am, this is our director, Shen. She is not your daughter-in-law. Please show some respect." At that, Ethan stiffly turned around to face me, his eyes locked on mine. "You really became a doctor," he said softly. I nodded at my assistant to let him know it was okay. Then I walked forward. I reached out my hand to Ethan. "It's been a long time." He hesitated for a few seconds, then let out a bitter smile and shook my hand. "Yeah, it has, Director Shen." After sending his parents back to their room, he and I went to the cafe outside the hospital. He told me his father had passed away 2 years ago. At the time, his mother was in the hospital, and he had just been taken in for investigation. The only one left at home was his uncle, but he fell down the stairs and no one noticed. It wasn't until much later that a neighbor realized something was wrong and called the police. After that, he said, my mom's health went downhill. She had surgery recently, but the doctor said a full recovery is unlikely. She doesn't have much time left. Her mind isn't doing so well either. She forgets things. That's why she kept calling you daughter-in-law just now. Please don't take it to heart. After he finished, he lowered his head and buried his face in both hands. Olivia, I regret everything. If I had just focused on living a good life with you, if I'd never brought Grace back home, maybe things would have turned out completely different. I lifted my coffee and took a sip. Ethan, you only regret how you treated me because your life is miserable now. Deep down, you don't really feel guilty. That's the truth. I stood up, ready to leave. In that case, I don't think there's anything more for us to say. I already paid for the coffee. Panicked, he grabbed my arm. No, Olivia, it's not like that. I really do feel guilty. I don't expect your forgiveness. I brought you here today because I wanted to say it to your face. I'm sorry. I gave him a small smile. I don't need your apology, Ethan. Don't give yourself that much credit. After I left you, I finally realized how many worthwhile things this world still has to offer. I was so foolish before, trapped in that tiny world you built. One little scrap of affection from you, and I thought it was everything. I completely lost myself in the Carter family. But thank God I didn't stay there. I created a new life for myself. One that surprises even me. I didn't wait for him to respond. I walked out of the cafe without looking back. Ethan, you and I are no longer walking the same path. The past should stay in the past. I'm embracing a new,